What's up, everybody? It's two of the benchwarmers here, Aki and Andy, and today we're going to be predicting another wildcard game. This time it's going to be my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers, taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. So we're going to preview this game. We're going to have our predictions at the end, so stay tuned. So first, let's talk about the 49ers. The 49ers ended the season 10-7 and were the 6th seed. It's sort of a tale of two different teams almost. Through the first 8 games, they were 3-5 and well out of the playoff picture. But in the last 9 games, they finished 7-2 with only losses to the Seahawks and Titans. Both of them are quite solid teams. And so it's really a tale of two different teams. And it was really spurred on by one major change in decision-making and play calling that was made in the middle of the season. Debo, around 8 or 9 weeks into the season, had around 900 or 1,000 receiving yards, which was almost leading the league. However, they made the executive decision to turn him into a sort of combo wide receiver running back. And throughout the next 8 or 9 games, he had several runs and had a really high average for his rushing attempts. And in these last few games, he had around 400 yards rushing and 7 TDs on the ground. And keep in mind, this is a wide receiver who's getting maybe 8 or 10 carries a game, and getting these stats is actually really solid for a player like Deebo Samuel. So let's talk about the rest of the offense. Jimmy Garoppolo was injured a bit early in the season, and he came back and wasn't 100%. And even now, he still isn't 100% because of an issue with his finger and his throwing hand. But he still is a very solid quarterback. He's a game manager. He can make throws when it counts, and he has very limited mobility, but can make plays when it counts. Like always, he's always has those 1 or 2 amazing third down plays every game, whether it's a function of him as a quarterback or his receiving core, who knows. But then also the 49ers have been a really strong running team with rookie Eli Mitchell, who they picked up in the 5th or 6th round, playing some really strong games, and he is looking to be the starter in this playoff game. And then there's also have some really good contributions from George Kittle, their star tight end, and other players such as Brandon Ayuk and Jawan Jennings. So on the defensive side, they are a quite strong defensive unit, especially up front with players such as Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead, among several others in their D-line. Nick Bosa is actually 3rd or 4th in the entire league with 15.5 sacks. Then they still have Fred Warner, who's, in my opinion, the smartest player in the NFL, but this comes from a biased 49ers fan. But then their secondary has been very hit or miss with players sometimes performing well, sometimes not. But they have generally not allowed too many massive games against them. So that is something to look forward to.
And next, I'm going to talk about the home team for this game, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. They finished the regular season with a 12-5 record, giving them the 3 seed. And really the main reason for that has been their amazing offense. So they're number 1 in the league in terms of both points and scoring. And that's because Dak has been very good. CeeDee Lamb has been an amazing first option as a wide receiver. And then people like Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz, even Cedric Wilson have been solid, kind of less targeted receivers. And then in terms of running, Zeke has been fine. I think he's not the player that he used to be. But Tony Pollard has really taken a big step up and been a great change of pace back behind Zeke. And they've made a great running back duo. So that's why the offense as a whole is very strong. And then the defense has also been surprisingly good as well, which is what I thought would hold them back at the beginning of the season. But they're actually top 10 in points allowed right now. And that's because of big young players stepping up, such as Micah Parsons and Trevon Diggs specifically. They both had amazing seasons, and they both actually made first-team All-Pro, which is very impressive for such young players. So overall, they've had a very good offense and defense, and that's what's given them a very solid record. But it is important to note that their good record is partially a result of having 6 wins in their division, which is the NFC East, one of arguably the worst division in the league. So I would say that they're not truly, in terms of their caliber, a 12-5 team. They're more like a 10 or 11 win team in terms of just how strong they are. So they're definitely still a good team, though. I'm not saying that they're bad. It's just that the record is slightly inflated, in my opinion.
So with that, let's talk about some of the storylines coming into this game. One of the major storyline is how the 49ers offense will do against a quite surprising Cowboys defense. Now, the Cowboys are not the best run defense, but they are like a league average run defense. And the 49ers should be able to take advantage of that. Except also, this is the playoffs. They'll step up. They have some really good veterans and some really smart young players, such as Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, honestly, has looked really, really, really good, and honestly should be like top 5 or even at worst top 7 in Defensive Player of the Year voting. And it just shows that like how smart of a player he is. He's able to man a really strong unit, which overperformed this season. And then you have the 49ers offense, which can be a little bit hit or miss. Their run game should be quite solid. And it depends on how the Cowboys are going to be able to defend targets like George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and will they be able to defend against the jet sweeps to Deebo Samuel? Will they be able to get past amazing O-line people like Trent Williams? So it'll just be a very interesting match to see the 49ers offense, which can be shaky at times and can be dominant at other times, versus a strong defensive front in Dallas.
Yeah, and then talking about when Dallas has the ball, it's going to be interesting to see whether Dak Prescott can really show up against a top 10 defense in the league. Because Dak's stats so far have been pretty good, but a main reason for that is that he's been playing some bad teams and he's been having abnormally amazing performances against them, like against the football team, for example, where they put up like 50 something points. But in general, he's only like played a few playoff teams or like actual playoff teams during the regular season, and he only has one win against a playoff team besides the Eagles. And that's just because against better defenses, he has been somewhat inconsistent, so much so that even the owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, called him out for his inconsistency. Against the Broncos, the Cowboys fall behind like 30-0 and then ended up scoring some points in garbage time. But that was a really bad performance by him. And then against the Chiefs, he threw 2 picks and no touchdowns. So he does struggle against some of the better defenses in the league. And the 49ers are exactly that, a good defense. So it'll be interesting to see whether Dak can actually prove that he is a top quarterback in the league against any team.
So what do we think this game is going to really turn out to? Well, it's definitely going to be a close game. At least I think it's going to be a close game. I think that Dallas's run game won't really amount to anything unless they really feed Pollard a lot, which I don't think is going to happen. They're going to feed Zeke a bunch of times and Pollard a few times. And I think they're going to probably end up around 3 to 4 yards per carry, which isn't the best. And I think in terms of their wide receiving and passing game, I think they are going to have a quite solid game because of the weaknesses in the 49ers secondary, but I don't think it'll be too crazy. I think they will definitely put up some points, but then if you look back at the 49ers might start off a bit slow, but just like against the Rams last week, they're going to power back with a strong run game, some clutch passes to players such as Jawan Jennings, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, etc. And I think that they're going to lead a game-winning drive, which will end with hardly any time left on the clock, and the 49ers will win in Dallas 28-24 and pull off the upset.
Yeah, I agree with Aki here. I think that the 49ers will pull off the upset. I think you have to ride the hot hand in this situation. As Aki previously mentioned, the 49ers finished the season 7-2. The Cowboys have been getting wins in the second half of the season too, but I think when you look at the team, Dak Prescott, I would say, was significantly worse during the second half of the season than the first half. I still think he'll put up a decent performance. I don't think he'll like completely fail like he did against the Broncos, but it just won't be enough, in my opinion, to make up for the fact that the 49ers have such a dynamic offense. Jimmy G is super clutch, even though he's not the best quarterback in the league. And then with the amazing running game and passing game of the Niners, it's just going to be too much for the Cowboys to handle. I think the 49ers will just edge it out 24-21. But that wraps it up for this prediction between the 49ers and the Cowboys. This is definitely the game that the bench warmers are looking forward to watching the most, both because it is Aki's favorite team, but also it's just going to be a very exciting game. Let us know whether you agree with our predictions or not. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. And this is the Bench Warmers, and we're signing out. See ya.